Hi guys, it's Becca, and today my story time for kind of the inspiration of the kind of teacher I want to be, I'm going to be talking about my 11th grade English teacher, Mr. Schumacher, or I'm going to be calling him Mr. Schu, because that's what we called him in school, and that's much easier to say than Mr. Schumacher for the next 3 to 5 minutes. But I'm going to be showing some videos while I'm talking that kind of are from my high school, from his classroom, and from outside his classroom, because I couldn't find enough videos from just his room. But I hope you guys enjoy. So first about him, that's kind of cool, that got me really close with him over my last 2 years of high school, is he wasn't just my 11th grade English teacher, he also taught 3 different electives for me between my junior and senior year of high school. In my junior year, he taught 2 electives that were actually back-to-back on the same day, which is kind of cool. It was my American Sports Literature class, which was exactly what it sounds like. It is a literature kind of English elective where you get to read different stories based around American sports, and you also learn some history, watch some documentaries. And then the next one was Teachers for Tomorrow, which, if you don't know, is kind of a class where you basically have a little dip into the teaching world and you get to watch documentaries. We learned about tenure, which was really interesting. And you even got to volunteer with a class of your choice for a couple months for this out of the school year. I volunteered with the 9th grade English class, like I mentioned in my slideshow, and that kind of also helped show what I wanted to teach. He also, in my senior year, he taught the only elective I had, which was African American literature. The cool thing about that is I was the only student so far of his that has been in every single class he taught, which was African American literature, American sports literature, Teachers for Tomorrow, and then English, which I think is really cool. And because I had to be in his classroom so much, I just got close with him. It's just one of those natural things that happened. And I think one of the biggest first impressions that I had of him that helped kind of show, I want to do that when I'm a teacher, is his classroom. I might try to show pictures of just in the classroom. I never took pictures of the classroom because why would I do that? But if I can find any pictures of it, I will, because words alone will not do his room justice, I am telling you. His classroom had no windows except for the small window on his classroom door, and it was basically just brick, so it looked like a jail. It looked like jail. But he had movie posters, sports posters everywhere, even on the ceiling, which was really cool. He had a lot of baseball, basketball, football stuff. He had pictures from his personal life, he traveled a lot, so we had pictures from that. He had a whole wall where it was his senior students, and I myself did put a picture up there my senior year. And there's just so much to look at, and that's something that I want to do when I'm a teacher, is have a classroom that is not a jail cell. It just has kind of a visual appeal to it, because I feel like if you're a teacher who has kind of stuff, if you have the means to decorate your classroom, I think it's a really good idea. It just makes it feel a little homey. And that's just a personal thing for me. I've always liked classrooms that have some sort of decoration, even if they're just the educational posters. But besides that, he had such a good reputation at my school. At my school, if you heard the name Mr. Schu, you knew he was a good teacher and you wanted to have his class, regardless of what it was. And I don't even know how to explain it. He had this reputation around him, and I'm like, I want to be taught by him, and I was very lucky that I was able to get taught by him in 4 different classes for my last 2 years of high school. It was a very special experience. I am so grateful for that. But also, he wasn't just that kind of teacher that had a good reputation because he taught well or he was too lenient. He was the perfect mixture of both being strict, on your butt about, getting your stuff done, especially if he knew that you had the potential to do well, but also being lenient enough and understanding if you have a special, circumstance that happens and maybe might not do an assignment or may not do your best on something. One of the biggest things I remember from high school was he came up to me at the end when we came back from Thanksgiving break, because I told him in the beginning of the year about how my parents got divorced right at the end of my sophomore year. So there's a lot of things kind of going on in that department outside of school. And so I was worried how it affected me in school. So I mentioned it to him, and he told me, I understand. A very similar thing happened when I was your age too. So if you need anything, you can come to me and talk to me about it. But I just thought it was one of those things teachers said. A lot of teachers just say that, but you never really go to them, so it's just, one of those things. But he actually practiced what he preached. He did. He reached out to me after Thanksgiving break when we were alone in the class in between class periods. He came up to me and he was like, hey, how was Thanksgiving break? Like, how was it with like the situation? And I told him, I was like, yeah, it was different, it was new, but it wasn't bad, so on and so forth. And we had a really nice conversation. And being able to have kind of that personal and open conversation with a teacher you trust, I think is very important for both the person, like the student and the educator. Because as an educator, I believe you should be letting your students have that kind of safe space in your classroom. And seeing how Mr. Shu did that for me made me realize, you know what, I need to make sure that I'm the kind of teacher who does that for their students in the future. Because especially if you're teaching juniors and seniors in high school, those kids especially, I think, need a lot of support when it comes to college applications, all the essays they have to write, and just having all that change in your life, like getting your license. You need that kind of constant support system, and I think teachers can do that for you and be very helpful, because that's what Mr. Shu did to me. He is like one of my biggest inspirations when it comes to being a teacher, not just when it comes to English, because he just ended up teaching the same subject I wanted to end up teaching, but when it comes to just the personalization of his teaching as well. Something he did that I loved was he, for every assignment, no matter what, if it was an introductory journal, if it was a essay, whatever, he would always have personalized notes and comments in our little like online, like the Canvas class that it was on. And I remember reading those and getting so excited every time because I loved hearing his thoughts about what I was writing. And he also would handwrite stuff for our essays because we gave him printed out versions of our essays, which made it feel really personal and like he actually was reading our words and not just checking a box and reading, for the sake of grading it. And I want to be that kind of teacher that he kind of was an example of, the kind that puts the effort and shows that, I'm reading your stuff. I want to give you good critiques to help you get better, because a lot of teachers may not do that. Some teachers kind of lack the effort to do things like that. But Mr. Shu was just always so dedicated. It was amazing, and I am so grateful to have had him as a teacher. I think about him and his teaching all the time, especially in classes like this where you have to think about being an educator. Like in my exploring education class last semester, I had to do final presentation, and for almost a lot of the things in there, like when it came to the natural consequences of using technology, the way I wanted my room decorated, the way I wanted to do assignments, there was always some sort of sprinkle of Mr. Shu's teachings and his way of teaching in my video or in my presentation. And unless you knew him, you wouldn't know. But since I knew him and knew the way he taught, I made sure I purposely put those ideas of his into my presentation, because again, I want to be like him as a teacher. Not exactly like him, because I'm obviously going to have my own special way of doing things, but I know it'll be good to kind of incorporate some of the things he willingly, unwillingly, he just kind of taught in the moment. And I'm very excited to when I can become my own, become a teacher and have my own students to hopefully inspire to maybe either become a teacher or to just kind of go and do what they want with their lives, because that's what Mr. Shu did for all of us, and I'm so grateful to have had him as a teacher. I hope you guys enjoyed me talking about Mr. Shu. I definitely liked reminiscing and kind of talking about him, because it's been about 2 years since I graduated high school, so it's been 2 to 3 years since I've had him as a teacher, and it was really nice looking back. And I'm still, like I said 1,000 times, I'm so grateful to and thankful to have had him as a teacher, and I hope you enjoyed.